At dawn in the Caribbean, one trigger pull almost rewrote naval history. No warning shot, no radio threat, just a sudden flash of fire racing across open water toward an American destroyer. And in that exact second, two crews realized this wasn't another game of intimidation. This wasn't an exercise. This wasn't politics. This was real naval warfare measured in seconds, meters, and irreversible decisions. The Venezuelan patrol boat believed aggression would create fear. They believed speed could erase distance. They believed the US Navy would hesitate. But they misread one critical thing. The ship they targeted wasn't reacting. It was waiting. Because modern naval warfare isn't about who fires first. It's about who finishes the fight. Before the other side understands, it has already begun. And as the first shells screamed over the waves, something invisible activated deep inside the American destroyer. Something that would flip the balance of power in minutes. What happened next didn't just shock the Venezuelan crew. It exposed how naval confrontations really work in 2025. And once you understand this moment, you'll never look at warships the same way again. The first shells didn't hit. That was intentional. In naval warfare, near misses are often louder than direct strikes. Water columns explode sky high. Steel decks vibrate. Crews feel the blast in their bones. It's meant to intimidate. From the Venezuelan bridge, it looked perfect. Their 76mm cannon was walking shots closer with every burst. Distance was collapsing. Confidence was rising. But aboard the US destroyer, something very different was happening. No panic, no shouting, just rapid confirmations. Range, bearing, signature confirmed. Because this destroyer wasn't guessing who fired. Its combat system already knew the gun's fingerprint, how fast it rotated, how hot it burned, how it spoke through radar. Here's the mistake most people make about naval warfare. They think guns start the fight. They don't. The real battle begins in the electromagnetic spectrum. And within seconds, the Venezuelan fire control radar was being watched, studied, and quietly lied to. The patrol boat thought it was closing in, but the numbers on their screens were already drifting away from reality. And the closer they pushed forward, the more dangerous that illusion became. Because once a ship commits to an attack run, there's no easy way to turn back. 8 seconds after the first shot, the invisible war fully ignited. The American destroyer's electronic warfare suite lit up, silent, fast, ruthless. Radar pulses, data bursts, frequency shifts. The kind of fight you never see on camera. On the Venezuelan screens, targets started behaving. Strangely, distances felt wrong. Bearings didn't line up. The destroyer appeared slower than it was. That wasn't luck. That was deception. Modern naval warfare rewards whoever controls information first. And the US ship wasn't just defending itself, it was rewriting the battlefield. But then something unexpected hit back. The Venezuelan crew activated jamming pods, foreign-built, recently acquired and rarely discussed publicly. GPS signals wavered. Commercial ships nearby lost navigation. For a brief moment, the sea itself felt confused. That was the opening they wanted. Disruption, chaos, doubt. But here's what most analysts forget. American destroyers don't rely on a single brain. When satellites went blind, an older system quietly took over. Gyroscopes, inertial math, pure motion tracking. No signals, no interference, no mercy. While the patrol boat believed it had leveled the field, the destroyer's computers were already calculating outcomes, based on physics alone. And physics doesn't negotiate. As the distance shrank under 600 meters, both crews finally understood what they were locked into. Then the encounter changed shape. What started as gunfire on the surface suddenly gained a third dimension. The sky. From the Venezuelan perspective, the plan was elegant. Cheap, fast, overwhelming. Small aerial contacts lifting off from nearby islands. Too small to justify expensive missiles. This is the modern naval dilemma. Do you spend millions to stop something that costs thousands? Or do you wait and risk being swarmed? On the destroyer's radar, the contacts multiplied. Tiny, erratic, hard to classify. Each one forcing a decision in seconds. This is where older warships hesitate. And hesitation at sea is fatal. Instead of firing, the American crew switched modes. No explosions, no tracers, just a quiet command passed through the combat system. And then the drones started falling. Not shot, not jammed, simply dead. Unpredictably after another, 9 contacts dropped from the sky in seconds, as if the air itself had turned hostile. The Venezuelan operators stared in disbelief. Their swarm was gone, and what terrified them most wasn't what they saw. It was what they couldn't, because the destroyer hadn't revealed its real weapon yet. From the patrol boat, it finally looked like the destroyer was backing away. A slight course change, speed adjustment, just enough movement to suggest uncertainty. That illusion was deadly. In naval warfare, movement is language, and the American ship was speaking fluently. What the Venezuelan captain believed was retreat, was geometry. Every turn placed the destroyer into a firing position calculated minutes earlier. Angles, vectors, blind zones. Because surface combat isn't about pointing your bow at the enemy. It's about where your weapons can strike from without being seen. And there was something else the patrol boat didn't know. They weren't alone. Far beyond the horizon, deep beneath the water, another American asset had never stopped listening. Passive sonar. No pings, no warning. Every engine surge, every propeller vibration. Tracked. This is the nightmare scenario in modern naval warfare. You think you're fighting one ship, but you're already surrounded by weapons you can't see. As the Venezuelan vessel pushed engines harder, confidence returned. They thought momentum was theirs again, but momentum at sea cuts both ways, and the next command from the destroyer would end the guessing. At 5:42 a.m., the Venezuelan captain made the call that sealed the outcome. Maximum speed. Hard turn. Close the gap before the American ship could reset. On paper it made sense. Fast boats survive by breaking patterns, by forcing reactions. But modern naval warfare punishes predictability, and that maneuver did exactly that. The engine screamed as the patrol boat surged forward, and in doing so, exposed its weakest angle, behind them. Because the destroyer didn't launch from where anyone expected. Not the bow, not the visible missile cells. The launch came from the aft system, a direction the patrol boat's radar barely watched. 2 missiles rose, curved, and disappeared from sight. No dramatic arc, no warning flare, just silence. By the time the Venezuelan radar operator saw the alert, it wasn't panic that froze him. It was disbelief, because the math said escape was impossible. 6 seconds later, the Caribbean answered. The impact wasn't cinematic, it was surgical. One missile detonated just off the stern, shredding propulsion systems. The second struck higher, ripping through sensors, antennas and command wiring in a single violent second. No fireball, no sinking, just sudden silence. For the Venezuelan crew, everything stopped at once. Engines dead, radars dark, orders lost in smoke and alarms. This is what modern naval warfare looks like. Not destruction for spectacle, but precision designed to end the fight without starting a war. On the American destroyer, there was no cheering, no celebration, because the crew knew something most people don't. The most dangerous moment isn't the strike. It's what happens immediately after. Damaged ships panic, backup systems come online, and a single desperate decision can still change everything. As the patrol boat drifted, wounded but afloat, the destroyer held position, weapons still locked, sensors still searching, because somewhere in this equation, there was still one variable unaccounted for. The next 12 minutes were the longest of the entire encounter. No shots, no movement, just 2 ships measuring consequences. On the Venezuelan vessel, emergency crews fought flooding and smoke. Communications were fragmented, command authority blurred. This is the phase of naval warfare nobody talks about, when adrenaline fades and reality sets in. Across the water, the American destroyer stayed ready, but restrained. Every system watched, every option open. Because escalation isn't just about firepower, it's about restraint backed by undeniable dominance. And the message was clear. You are disabled. You are alive. And this ends now. Within hours, orders came down quietly. No press release, no footage. The patrol boat would be towed home under escort. The destroyer would continue its mission as if nothing happened. But inside naval command centers across the region, everything changed. Distances were recalculated. Rules were rewritten. Because one engagement had just answered a question every navy was asking. What happens if we push too far? Now they knew. 3 days later, the consequences became invisible, but permanent. The Venezuelan captain was quietly removed. No announcement, no explanation. Repairs on the patrol boat revealed the truth. Over $40 million in damage to a ship never meant to fight a destroyer. Head on. The hull survived. The Confidence didn't. Meanwhile, the American crew received nothing. No medals, no headlines. Because in modern naval warfare, silence is the reward for doing everything right. But behind closed doors, commanders paid close attention. One pattern emerged immediately. Venezuelan vessels stopped closing distance. 5 nautical miles became 10. 10 became 12. Aggressive maneuvers vanished overnight. This wasn't fear, it was understanding that a single destroyer could defeat guns, drones, jamming, and speed without ever losing control of escalation. And that realization didn't stop in the Caribbean. It traveled through briefings, through allies, through adversaries who suddenly recalculated risk. Because the balance of power didn't shift loudly, it shifted decisively. And the final implication was still unfolding beneath the surface. Here's the part no headline will ever explain. This encounter wasn't about Venezuela. It was a demonstration, a signal to every navy watching that surface provocation is no longer safe. That modern destroyers don't fight one battle at a time. They fight all of them simultaneously. Guns, drones, electronic warfare, subsurface threats, all while choosing restraint over destruction. That's the future of naval warfare. And it's already here. The Caribbean didn't become calmer after this incident. It became quieter, more cautious. Because tension hasn't disappeared. It's gone deeper into sonar shadows and silent tracking zones where cameras can't follow. Venezuela tested a limit. The US Navy answered without hesitation. And next time, there may not be 12 minutes to recover. So when the next incident happens, and it will, you'll know what's really unfolding long before the headlines do. Stay sharp, stay curious, and stay ahead of the surface story.